All right. Welcome to the Real Money Coach. Listen, it is third. Michelle, I almost said
You
Thursday.
almost said
I
Thursday.
You're
almost
gonna
said
see
Thursday
you can
because
hear you like
it's been
everything.
Thursday for so long. I
Yeah.
almost said Thursday, right? But
Yes,
it's Tuesday, and
it's
it's Real Money Coach time because it's 8 p.m.
that's
So
right.
welcome everybody. Please put into the chat. Please put in the chat where you are watching from, your city, your location. Say hello to Michelle and I tonight because we have a great show in store for you. How many times, Michelle, do you get a chance to sit side by side virtually
Mhm.
with a multi-millionaire, right? And so that's what we have tonight in
Woo.
person of Michael Roberts that will be with us. Ruth Bell, thank you for being here. We love having you here, Ruth Bell from
Hello.
Charlotte. From Charlotte. Listen, we want to do this. Hey, Alice Martin, Dr. Benita Harris, thank you. Make sure you share this. If you're on Facebook,
It's clear on my
make
screen.
sure
Everything. So
that
it might be
you
a connection issue
share
on your side.
this. Make sure you share it
All right, we'll try
with
it out.
uh with your family, your friends on Facebook. Make sure you share it. I'll try to get it out, right? So thank you, Kimberly, for being here this evening. We got great people that are watching. We got to listen. We got the Dr. Liddell all the way from West Point, Mississippi. Timothy Day from Durham, North Carolina. What do you think, Michelle? You think we all over the country? How about that?
All over the country, yes.
So speaking about being all over the country, tell me what's going on in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
In Kalamazoo, Michigan, it's just cold right now. Things are going. It's been a busy start to the year. That's all I can say.
Well, Michelle, here's the thing that was interesting to me today was that I had this appointment with this guy out of and we're just no, it wasn't an appointment. It was this organization. It was really pretty cool. It's called HPN, which is Happy People Networking.
Oh, okay.
Happy People Networking. And so I happened to be invited by one of the agents on my team to go to this happy people networking. And so this group happened to be on Black entrepreneurs.
Okay.
It was all Black entrepreneurs. And I think that was it. My appointments may be running, but there was a guy on there, and he was from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Really?
He was from Kalamazoo.
Okay.
No, actually, it was an appointment. So I can't remember where he lives now. But he said, "Oh, yeah, he lives in Illinois. He lives in Illinois."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Oh, but I'm from Michigan." I said, "Me too." He said, "Well, I'm from a place you probably never heard of." He said, "I'm from Kalamazoo." I said, "I know Kalamazoo.
Right.
Western. I know Kalamazoo." He said, "Well, I probably went to school a place you never heard of." Where's that? Hope College.
Shut up.
I said, "My goddaughter goes to Hope College."
Yes.
Oh, she graduates in May. Give it a shout out to Danielle. Shout out to Danielle. So, wow. Let's again. We got some people here. We got Dr. Liddell from West Point, Mississippi. Again, Kimberly from Charlotte. Timothy Day from Durham, North Carolina. So thank you all for being here, being part of the show tonight, as we are going to continue our series about entrepreneurship. And this month is really, really hot because it's Black History Month.
Right.
So Michelle, question for you. What does Black History Month really give me your thoughts on Black History Month.
My thoughts on Black History Month is a time for us to remember from which we came, and to remember those who contributed not just to the struggle, but to the upliftment of society, because Black people had a lot to do with how society runs today, as far as inventions and, things like that. So to me, it's just a time to reflect on that and, kind of think about like the strengths that you draw on to make you who you are today. And as I was growing up, in Benton Harbor, Michigan, Black History Month, they really only talked about Martin Luther King, really.
Right.
Like there was more contributors than Martin Luther King, but they love Martin Luther King. So
That's all we knew, right?
that's all we knew. Exactly.
I would love to do this. I would love to do this. For those of you who are watching and listening, will you put into the chat box your favorite character, personality from Black history? Who would that be? Who would that be? Who would be your favorite person from Black history? Put that in the chat box. I'd love to see some of your favorite people in terms of Black History Month. And so don't y'all be shy now. Come on, put it in there. Let me see who you got. Black History Month. Anybody? Come on. I know somebody got a character they want, a person that means a lot to them in terms of Black history. I always was, MLK. I mean, and part of that, being a preacher, and I guess that was in me way back when. So Fannie Lou Hammer, I love that. Dr. Lil said, I'm sick and tired of being what?
Sick and tired.
So that's pretty sweet. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So who else we got?
Yep.
Oh, okay. We got Richard Holmes, all the way back in Jackson, Michigan, said Harriet Tubman. Let's see, who else we got? Who else got a favorite history character? Anybody else? Let's see. We got Harriet.
I like Madam C.J. Walker because she was the first Black female millionaire.
That's very interesting. And actually, she was the first female millionaire, not just but just
that's true.
That was pretty. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah,
pretty powerful.
Back at the turn of the century, like, turn of the.
You got to think about how long ago that was.
Right.
What would that mean in today's dollars? Look, Ruth Bell said Rosa Parks.
Yep.
Huge. And, on my iHeartRadio show, we have been talking. I've been talking about a character, business character each week. And last week I did Robert Johnson, right? Because Robert Johnson, of course, was the first
voice.
That's a good one. Yeah. He was the first Black billionaire after the sale of BET. And then this week it was a lady, Janice Hayward, I believe her name is, but she is also she owns and runs a personnel company called Ace One, I believe it is. So you guys have to check out the radio show on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and you'll get that. All right, who we got? WD Boys, Reginald F. Lewis, Stokely Carmichael. Now, if that's Reginald Lewis, the attorney, who was the attorney? Was that Reginald Lewis? I think it was.
I think it.
With the cigar. Yeah. And I remember his famous line is that, why should the white boys have all the fun? I remember that line when we were in college during that time.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk about a couple announcements we want to make before we bring our guest on. Guess what's coming up?
What's coming up, Tony?
The book launch. The book launch. Look, the book launch is coming up on February 22nd, as you can see right there. You can, look at the lineup of people. We got Dr. George Fraser, who was on our show last week. We got AJ Joyner, who is my publisher. We got Megan and Reagan Lynch founders of Extreme FX Global Academy, foreign exchange platform. Bad sisters there.
Yeah.
They're twins. Their branding is double vision. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Alistair Edwards, who is big in Legal Shields, been on our show. And then Dr. Boyce Watkins from, the Black Business School. So Dr. Boyce Watkins will be with us. And then Dr. Dennis Kimbrough will also be with us, as well as Jerome Davis. So those are the primary speakers, right? Yeah, it's gonna be get your popcorn, and be ready, because we gonna have a great time that night. Hey, the book launch is 2 hours, so you got to get your popcorn, you got to eat, you got to do all that. But we're gonna have prizes. We're gonna have a great time, and in addition to that, we're gonna have some live music from my good friend, and Lisa always but that's who he is to me. But he's a recording artist, and he's a bad brother. Isaac Norris on the saxophone will be here as well. And he can get down, right? He can really do his thing. And then we will also have Pastor K will come and share open prayer and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's going on, Michelle. Michelle will be hosting.
Yes.
Will be her, and Marlon will be the MCs. And so it's going to be a blast. And we're just going to have a good time. We're going to do this book launch. So make sure you guys go to iPadYourMoney.com, register for the book launch. The book launch is free. iPadYourMoney.com, register for the book launch. And it's going to be on Tuesday. So it's like the same time that we have this show, except we're going to start an hour earlier.
Right.
And then we're going to end at 9, and we're just going to have a wonderful time. So thank you all, Real Money Coach family, for being part of it in advance. And many of you have already pre-ordered your book. Listen, if we get, let me just tell y'all this right now, because I want you to put in the chat box if you can do this. If you go to iPadYourMoney.com right now, when I checked earlier, we were 2 books short of 100 books in pre-sale. Okay.
Oh wow.
2 books short. So if you're out there, you haven't ordered your book, go there so that we can be over that 100 mark tonight. How about that? That sound pretty cool?
That's cool.
Now, the other announcement is, of course, on Friday we have the iHeart Radio show. And that's been a lot of fun as well. And that is at 5 p.m. Eastern time, iHeartRadio. You simply go to WDRB Media, and it is a broadcast. So it does not rebroadcast. It's one broadcast. Dr. Liddell, thank you. She said, I got you on the book. Look at that.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. We'll be over 100 tonight. And what was interesting is that as I had my meeting with AJ today, he says the average book never sells more than 200.
No way.
Like all these books, because everybody writes a book.
Yeah.
He says the average book sells 200 books.
You're kidding.
I thought that was an amazing number.
I think so too.
Yeah. So somebody said, I'm ordering my book tonight. Love it. Thank you.
I want to order my pre-book too. It's not written yet, but
there you go. Hey, listen, we were taking pre-orders before the book was done, right? The book was done. But let me tell you something. I'm going to show you guys. It was when I got this in my hand on Saturday, I was just blown away.
Wow.
Because it's like, I've seen the manuscript, I've seen the PDF or the book cover, I've seen all that, but to actually be able to put your hands on it was just kind of an amazing feeling for me. So thank you all for all of your support. And I got to thank my wife, man. Come on. Yeah. Lisa, Y'all give a shout out to Elisa in the chat box. This woman has stood beside me for.
Man, she read that manuscript because I was in town and she had to read the manuscript.
She had to read the manuscript. And she is, thank you, Ruth Bell, for ordering your book tonight. Thank you. So Elisa is a remarkable, gifted proofreader, right? And so, and I'm the opposite. So I should never send anything out with somebody proofreading it, right? But I just thank her for support and encouragement to do it. And matter of fact, she found the publisher that I'm working with, AJ. He's a bad boy, and he's got an app out to help people write their book. So
really,
listen, thank you all for shouting out my wife. All right, love it.
Yes, bestie.
Yeah, that's Michelle's best friend.
Yes,
that's Michelle's best friend. So I gotta call Michelle and say, Michelle, what Lisa do?
What's going on with my wife?
Timothy Day put 267. I don't know what that means. What does that mean, Timothy?
He bought 267 books.
He bought 267 books. Okay. Listen, I'll give you a discount price for that, Timothy. You buy 267 books. We got you. Listen, tonight we have an awesome guest with us. I am not going to try to introduce him to you all. Thank you, Alice Martin. That's the church family coming through. I am not going to try to introduce him. We got a 3-minute clip that we're going to use to introduce Mr. Michael Roberts, and then we will bring him on to share some wisdom with us. Let's roll that clip, please. We don't have any volume on it. Can we get a little volume?
Who have built an empire literally from the ground up, and they never forgot where they came from.
You know you've arrived in the business world when your office can look like this.
Yeah, this is all my stuff.
Michael and Stephen Roberts launched their business empire from a historically black neighborhood in North St. Louis. They estimate their company, which holds everything from hotels to TV stations, to be worth almost $1 billion.
So someone watching this who says, that's really easy for these guys to say. They've got millions and millions of dollars. They can go out and buy whatever they want. I have 2 quarters to rub together. What do you tell that person?
That we also had 2 quarters to rub together. We weren't rich, we weren't poor, but we just never had any money either.
We tell folks, learn it, get your hands dirty, low sweat equity, and then you will know it. It becomes yours.
The Roberts brothers say the key to success is putting ideas into action. They are relentless workers, always looking to make a deal.
We're creatures, we're animals of the earth. What other animal retires? I mean, if a lion retired, today, tomorrow morning becomes his brother's breakfast, right?
Mike was elected first.
They were both elected to the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. Out of a 1-room office, they created an empire made up of 76 companies with 1,100 employees. They run TV stations, hotels. They own commercial real estate and telecommunications companies. Their name adorns every property: the Roberts Village, the Roberts Loft, the Roberts Mayfair Hotel. But don't try comparing them to Donald Trump.
That what may appear to you today as ego, 40 years from now will be legacy. And Black folks need legacy. We have to have examples of successes in order for us to be able to let the generations to come know that many of the successes that occurred by African Americans in this country can be seen and pointed out and can be emulated.
The Orpheum Theater in downtown St. Louis symbolizes the Roberts' quest for legacy. Decades ago, their mother and other Black people were only allowed to sit in the highest balcony. Now the Roberts brothers own the theater.
And Mom has moved from the balcony. I assume she gets a front row seat.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Mom can sit
wherever she likes.
That is priceless.
Hey, Mom, how you doing?
Ed Lavendera, CNN, St. Louis, Missouri.
And for more stories of people stepping up, taking charge, and creating solutions, watch the documentary.
So, Michelle, we have Black history with us tonight.
Yeah, we do.
We got Black history with us tonight. I love that clip. I've seen it a couple times, but we have multi-billionaire business entrepreneur, author of Action Has No Season, and Action Has No Season 2. Great reads. I love hanging out with my new crew authors, right? And so both of these books written by Dr. Roberts and given to me by him personally. And so without any further ado, let's bring onto the stage Mr. Michael V. Roberts. Dr. Roberts, how are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
We're doing awesome. We are doing better than wonderful now that we have you on the Real Money Coach show.
Hey, I'm here. Michelle, I don't know how you put up with Tony, but I have a lot of respect for you to be able to work with him as close as you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But Tony's just my friend, so
Well, I know, but he's my friend too. But that sometimes, he can stretch that a little bit from time to time. I'm only kidding. He's a wonderful guy.
Maybe that's why her and my wife were so close, because they share notes or something. They got a book on Tony. They're probably coming out with a book right. How to control me. How's that?
Right.
So Dr. Roberts, I'll tell you what. I have so much respect for you. I appreciate your friendship and your mentorship. I want to share two stories with our audience before you get started. And two things. I've been with you. I mean, we've been together several times. On one occasion, you and I went to a restaurant. It was actually you, my wife, and my kids. We were at a restaurant. I won't name the restaurant. And this made such an impression on Elisa and myself, because we see you being successful, and all the accolades. We just watched the CNN thing, right? And at this restaurant, because there was maybe 5 or 6 of us, they automatically put the gratuity of 20% on the bill. And that disturbed you. And it taught us a lesson that watching what you spend, regardless of how much you make, be mindful. Now here's a gentleman that could obviously afford it, but that was one of those life lessons that you can't get from a book. And the second thing was this. We were in Columbia. We spent 3 days together in Columbia, South Carolina, Benedict College, great HBCU there. And I was taking you to the airport. We kind of finished early. And so we decided to go by the mall. And we go by the mall. The mall is having a sale. And he said, let's stop at the mall. Dr. Roberts said, let's stop at the mall. We're going to the mall. I think you were looking for an overcoat or something. And I'm the only one that came out with a bag. So those were two great living examples of what it's like to be just mindful, financially, what you're spending and all those type of things. So I appreciate those things, because those aren't things that we read in a book. That's just seeing real life, someone who's successful and still on top of the game. So thank you for that. Can you hear this, Dr. Roberts?
Tony, I couldn't hear much of what you said, but are you ready for me to speak now?
Go ahead. Yes. Tell us, share with us about your background and how you got where you are.
Well, Tony, unfortunately, I'm only getting every other word, but let me just say thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be able to join in and speak to brothers and sisters around the country. And I understand that your show is extremely popular and is heard from coast to coast. So it's an honor for me to be here with you and Michelle tonight. I wrote the book, as you said, Action Has No Season. And action has no season means or implies just that there's no time to waste to take action. When you have an idea, a plan, you should take those ideas and plans and move quickly with action. Too often people lay back and they think about, well, what if, what if? And as a result, they may lose their opportunity. I mean, I've even heard about people who have said, I will be happy if I could have just followed my own dream because I had a great invention. 2 years later, somebody had taken that invention idea and made millions of dollars with it. Why did they not proceed? It's because they refused to take action. So every day when you wake up, you're given 86,400 seconds. That's 24 hours for those math majors out there. And consider the fact that the moment that you are in the moment, it's already gone. It's a very existential approach. In fact, in my book, I coined the word the actionaire. And that's one who takes their ideas, their dreams, their vision, and their passion, and they pursue them with courage and confidence and bravado. Now, the actionaire is one who is going to engage in a variety of endeavors, and hopefully most of them will be successes. But one of the things you have to be successful is you have to eliminate the fear of failure. Now, I've built many companies, over 100. I've owned over 10 television stations, 12 hotels. I have strip shopping centers. At one point, I owned 3 city blocks in downtown St. Louis. I've taken 3 companies public. I actually been involved with 3 companies going public. Now, a lot of folks were wondering, well, how did you get your start? And that would be a good question, and somewhat difficult from a perspective that my dad worked at the post office for 39 years. Our mom raised us. She was a part-time school teacher. So we weren't rich, we weren't poor, we just never had any money. And I suspect there are quite a few people listening right now who have actually faced the same lifestyle. And yet you have to determine, well, when and how do you break out? So after finishing law school, I moved 2 blocks from the projects where I lived for 10 years and was elected to the St. Louis City Council. We call them Board of Aldermen. I served that for 8 years. I was the youngest elected alderman at the time. And shortly after that, my brother came along 2 years later, finishing law school, and then ran and was elected. So the 2 of us were on the city council at the same time. And that allowed us to not only mature quickly in the business world and the political world, but it also gave us the courage and confidence to go for it, to try to see if we could in fact succeed. And how did we start? Well, like many, we started with residential developments, inner city properties. We took them on, we renovated houses and flipped them. Or we held them as a part of our financial statement. And over time, that grew and developed into a fairly large amount of assets. Now, I think because the nature of, Tony, who you are and what your program is about, I'm going to pause and have a discussion about the fact that for us to be able to truly define ourselves as success, we have to determine how are we handling our financial positions. How diversified are we allowing our holdings to be? How do we create multiple forms of income? All of those are the types of questions I was raising throughout my career, continue to, frankly, because you really never know exactly when there may be a downturn. And when there's a downturn, some of your transactions and businesses may go belly up. Some of them may weaken. Others may do fine. But if you eliminate the fear of failure when you're in business, it can make all the difference in the world. But let's break those two words down. The first word is fear. Fear is nothing but a mental construct. It is not of nature. It's not the wind blowing or grass growing, snow falling. Uh, as a mental construct, you were born without it. You've only allowed yourself to inherit it. And I submit to you that you can release that in your own mind if you just simply let it go. Second word, failure. I think we have to learn to eliminate that word out of our vocabulary because there's no such thing as failure. Now, you might say, well, Michael, what do you really mean by that? And how does that work? Well, let me explain. Whenever we're out and engaged in business, in personal relationships, marriage, any type of relationship that you may have, there are times when those relationships may not work out as you would have liked. I don't call that failure. What I call that is an opportunity where I have learned from it. I've seen the kids today, they throw up words like, they use this, you know what that stands for? With the kids, it stands for loser. I submit to you that by changing your mindset, let's call that lesson. That L is a lesson. And if we learn from our downturns, we become stronger as we move forward in life. So the actionaire eliminates the fear of failure. You know, a lot of times I'll ask people, how many of you think outside the box? Raise your hand. Now, for those of you who are raising your hand, I'm going to spank you. There's no such thing as a box. So how do you think outside of a box unless you've placed yourself in a box? If you put yourself in a box, what's the size of your box? I've seen young kids in today's world in the streets, and they don't think they're going to live very long, and their box is already a casket. The whole notion of thinking outside the box presumes that you are in a box.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as that. In reality, you know, there's only the horizon. And if you continue to embrace the horizon and you eliminate the failure, you're on your way to becoming an actionaire. So I like to remind people again that every day when you wake up, you give it 86,400 seconds. And that's a existential look at life, but it's the actionaire's perspective of life. I really find that as we move from traditional businesses into the future, that you have to be a futurist. I consider myself a futurist. Sometimes I'll ask questions of folks, which would you rather have, the adequate amount of money to start a business or the skill set to actually start a business? I submit to you that the skill set becomes much more valuable because in the end, it's the skill set that will teach you how to manage your money, to make you look into the future and consider what are the opportunities that are forthcoming. And what are those opportunities? Well, we have an organization, Tony and I and our team. It's called the Roberts Innovation Group, RIG for short. And what we acknowledge is this. We're interested in helping the HBCUs, historic Black colleges and universities, to increase their perspective on curriculum that will allow our young people to succeed in the future. So when I speak to a president of a college, I'll ask them a simple question. Where do you think people will be spending money in the next 10 years? And if you can embrace that idea, then are you preparing the students to enter a workforce or a business opportunity that connects with that? You see, in the future, we have to understand that there are going to be certain words that are just going to be our everyday nomenclature: robotics, drones, cybersecurity, esports, the megaverse, cryptocurrency, blockchain. It goes on and on. And one has to begin to realize that you need to know something about each of those subjects. And you have to be prepared to either engage those opportunities that are forthcoming, or you'll be left behind. In the future, we're going to have these nanochips that will be so small that they will find themselves able to enter your body and be able to determine conditions of your body. In fact, they're doing some similar experimentation with that now. But imagine in the future when you'll be able to go to your mirror on the wall that'll have these little chips that'll read the chips inside of you, and you'll say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's wrong with me?" And then the mirror will do a quick analysis, and then the mirror will send that data to the RoboDoc. RoboDoc will then do this analysis. RoboDoc will then send the message over to the RoboPharmacist. The RoboPharmacist will pull the necessary drugs for you, and they will call the local drone company who will pick it up and deliver it to your house. Of course, your robot will take it from that point and relax with you by bringing you the water and helping you to get better. So one of the scary questions is, will robots in the future be there to serve us, or will be to some degree serving them? That singularity concept. If you take, for example, our phones, our cell phones, right now you can receive more data with that cell phone than what NASA had when it sent the first spaceship up. That data is so profound and so broad that you can literally ask it any question and it will probably give you an answer. It almost has infinite knowledge. But assume for the moment that in the future that there's a chip that will go into your brain and be able to provide you with the same infinite knowledge. Will you become a cyborg in a sense? There's a scary side of this. And the scary side of it is the brain hackers who may come along and hack your brain and put you in a position that you are not even aware of that's somewhat negative for yourself. I push these subjects because I want to disrupt you. I want you to be extremely disrupted as a result of my comments today. Why? Because if you continue to do the same thing over and over, you'll get the same outcome. And there's a definition for that. So be careful that you're not positioning yourself to just be lethargic and to be only doing that which you've always done in the past, when the past is indeed that. I want you to be a much more aggressive person as you move forward and realize that these trends that I'm referring to are more than trends, they're actual realities. What's going to happen with the megaverse, for example? Is it going to take over Facebook or even the internet for that matter? Yes, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome is just that. It's insanity. We are better than that. We don't need to lay back and let people dictate which way we're going. We have to develop skill sets. So I wrote in my book, things like, developing a mindset, being disruptive and developing a fresh new look and a mindset at things that are coming along in life. And things are changing at a very rapid pace. Autonomous cars, for example. Imagine that in the future, and not too distant future, your children are going to be placed in a autonomous car, a driverless car. You're going to send them to school, and only the teacher will have the code to allow the door to open to let your child out. Think about that. Think about the fact that you will probably be not driving cars in the future, but you will be commanding cars in the future. So if you're 2 or 3 or 5 today, by the time you're 16, you won't have a driver's license as we know it. You will have a command capability of the vehicle in which you're in. These and so many other futuristic business opportunities are just emerging, and we have to make sure that our students from K to 12 are beginning to have conversations and involved in things like esports. Esports is quite interesting. Why is it interesting? A 14-year-old just made $2 or $3 million winning an esports game. Esports in the future will be the gamification of the gaming concepts in places like casinos in Las Vegas and other places. I predict that esports will someday be an Olympic sport. There are teams today sponsored by and funded by renowned athletes and actors because they see that there's value in establishing a team who can go out and win large buckets of money. And by the way, everything I'm describing is global in nature. Don't think that we are going to have some kind of special control just in the United States on anything I'm saying. What's going on with the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? You know, the Bitcoin is not a fiat dollar bill. You know, if you look at the history of currency in general, you know, it started off back when you had a chicken and I had corn and we exchanged. It was a barter system, but my currency was the chicken or the corn. Then eventually we started to accept minerals, gold, silver, and the like, as a form of currency. Ultimately, to move fast forward, we now have paper money, and paper money is called fiat because it's fake. It's not real. It's real only because we accept it as being real, but it doesn't have the full faith and credit of the governments behind it. And back in the day, a dollar was worth a dollar's worth of silver. That's not the case, or gold. That's not the case anymore. So as we look at emerging currencies, and we who are interested in money management must understand that money means, and currency means something emerging as something completely different than what we're used to. So Tony, I'm going to kick it back to you guys because I've just entered into your space of money management. And as you know, being an ex-politician and a lawyer by training, you give me a microphone and I don't know how to stop. But I hope I'm giving some pearls of wisdom and some things to disrupt the mindset of our audience today.
Here we go. Dr. Roberts, you know, one of the things I appreciate about it is that you're an actioneer, right? Because we're having these internet issues, and it just worked much better when you just went and you did, you just went in, you know, and these are the types of things that we've been talking about on Thursday mornings, you know, esports, cryptocurrencies and drones and all of this futuristic things and technology that is.
Tony, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding you. You're breaking up.
Yeah, and I think that's. I think when we're all on, it seems like it's causing a few issues. But what I was saying is to just really appreciate the futuristic mindset that you have. and how on Thursday mornings we're getting that in full dose. The group of us, Rig, that meets together, and so it's pretty awesome. I don't know if anyone has any questions they would like to ask. Roberts, if you want to put that in the chat, that'd be a great way for us to handle that, especially since we have some issues in terms of connectability and that type of thing. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat while we still have Dr. Roberts on the screen with us.
Thank you, Tony.
Awesome.
That was amazing information.
So yeah, Michelle, I mean, and like I said, this is the type of things that we're talking about. AI, it's here.
Yeah.
And it's here to stay. And I know that, Dr. Roberts, you're into that. You're kind of ahead of the game in terms of some of those things. So what's your take on AI intelligence?
Well, let's understand that artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. Many of the components of our everyday life are really robotic in nature. And we're going to see some really interesting changes that's going to take place. Let me point out very quickly a concern I have for a lot of our people. I predict that at least by 2030, if not before, half of the jobs that are repetitive in nature will become driven by artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics. That means half of the jobs will be lost unless we prepare ourselves to find careers that's going to fit within that space. Simple example. There was a time when people worked on the automobile lines, and now if you look at an assembly line, you see these large robotic arms assembling cars. That's technology. But technology goes all the way back to when people used to pick cotton, and then the cotton gin came along and put people out of work. They moved to the north and started working in the industrial age, and as a result of that, we saw the transition from the agrarian society to an agricultural society. And now what we're in the middle of is moving from an industrial society into a digital society, a tech society. And that is a wonderful opportunity for multimillionaires to become multi-billionaires very quickly. We've seen it with the Elon Musks of the world and others who had great ideas, and they placed action behind their ideas, and they went for it. There's the venture capital available out there. Now, look, this is an interesting time for African Americans. We should continue to join together and pursue businesses as a family or as a team, and that's why RIG is so important as we develop our game plan and go into. For example, we're trying to go straight to Miles College in Birmingham, but one of the wonderful things is by the time we're finished, we're going to leave a cyber security lab for the teachers and the students and a curriculum for them to continue to grow and develop those in that field. But while we're doing that, we're also going to teach them financial literacy. We're going to teach them about drone technology. We're going to teach them about a variety of the other points that I raised earlier today. And because we have to create this disruptive mindset and open the minds of our HBCU students and faculty to these wonderful opportunities that are forthcoming.
Yeah, Alice Martin had a question. How will this change the face of public education as we know it today?
Yeah, I see the question. Public education. once again, this requires the disruption concept that I discussed earlier. We're going to have a faculty that's thinking more along the lines of science, technology, math, engineering. We can still keep the arts, which we should have. I'm a firm believer in that. And I'm a believer in that because robots can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sensitive. They can't, they can look at a picture and copy it, but they can't put the emotional connection to that a human artist can do. They don't love, they don't hate. They're just robots. And yet, if we don't manage them correctly, they will become dangerous for us, I think, in the future. So we have to let our public schools recognize the value of STEM education and begin to let our students, they may not want them to play video games, but believe it or not, those are the types of techniques that they're going. And listen, I have a granddaughter who's 11, and she's already drawing pictures that she wants to put out as a token that she can sell. So I think this is going to be an interesting future for kids. They're going to have a dynamic time. The NFTs are right there for even kids to make money. And non-fungible tokens are just there, and people are able to succeed through the metaverse. Now, I think we have another one that says, what are the ways we can set up? I just lost it. For kids to invest in future projects. Actually, I think I just touched on that. I'd like for our kids to recognize that there are interesting ways to actually make money. I want them to be capitalists, by the way. I want them to do everything they can to make money legitimately. And in today's emerging world of technology, they can do it. Because if they do the NFTs and they get into the whole understanding of what Megaverse is, boy, I tell you, they can be so successful without realizing it, even at a very young age. And as I said, esports is the other one. Some of the adults are maybe thinking, well, esports is just playing games. Well, actually, it's a technique, and it is an emerging industry. So we need to have esports teams, even at an elementary level, and get away from thinking that this is a little plaything for kids. It's not. It's a training process.
We're going to flash one final question for Dr. Roberts up. I think we have it queued up. You mentioned the word capitalist. And what's your definition of a capitalist?
Well, a capitalist is one that understands the value of developing capital. And what is capital? Capital or assets. Now, a capitalist is a competitor. Sometimes people think that capitalism is dirty or ugly and things along that line. Well, that's maybe what some people are, but not all people. I mean, capitalism is so simple. It's you have a widget, I have a widget, and we're trying to sell it to Michelle. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins gets the capital from selling our widget to Michelle. Yeah. Now that makes me a capitalist. That makes you a capitalist too. You just lost on that round. So we, but honestly, I think that the more we realize. Plus, let me say it this way: if we lived in a socialist nation, what would we be called? Socialist. If we lived in a communist nation, what would we be called? A communist. Right. We live in a capitalist society. So people wake up to that reality. Understand that almost everything you do in one way or another relates to capitalism. Going to the store, buying a car, all of these things, making money, working with, that's all part of a capitalistic society. And that is what we are in. And as long as we are there, then we should go on and not be fearful of using the word capitalism and being a capitalist, but you can be a capitalist with a heart. I can do a lot more with money than without it. So
Amen.
I can help people
Amen.
with money than without it. So it makes sense for one to be a capitalist, have money, and then make your decisions on how you want to spread it or spend it or reinvest it.
Well, you know, I think that's the perfect note to wrap up the show. Dr. Roberts, thank you so much. Hang out in the green room with us so we can say hello. Wow, Michelle, what this is to me, this is like what I get on Thursday mornings for that
Right.
hour and a half on Thursday morning. And not just Dr. Roberts, but the group and the different people who might be, specialized in drones, and we have esports, and we have cybersecurity. We have all of these people, this technology, and we have us representing from a financial standpoint. We have Dr. Liddell that was on here earlier from a fundraising. And so we have really an awesome group. And it's mind-blowing when you just hear some of the things that Dr. Roberts said, when you're talking about being a capitalist,
Yeah.
being a futurist and an actioneer. These are all wonderful, wonderful things. And, I hope that, well, Michelle, tell me what you got out of tonight. I mean,
yeah, what I got out of it, like he said something about like somebody had a thought about an invention, but they didn't do anything about it. But then a couple years later, they see their idea and somebody else has taken it to market.
Right.
So my husband and I, we talk about this all the time. We talk about God has put things in the atmosphere. And sometimes they're for you and sometimes they're for somebody else. And he may, you may become aware of what's out there, but if you don't take action, it's not yours. It's somebody else's.
And if
it's available, but you don't move on it.
That's why you got to take action. That's
why you got to take action.
That's why the actioneer is so important, because the actioneer doesn't let those opportunities go by.
Yeah. And some people think of these as, I just thought of this, or no, it is an actual opportunity. And when you have an opportunity present itself to you and you have preparation, it's what? Like, we could call it luck, but it's not luck. You have prepared for it.
Well, luck. I remember when I was a freshman at Western, I remember this lady, Elaine, she worked in an administration office, and then one day I used that term that I was lucky, and she stopped me and she said, "You make your own luck."
Yep. You
make your own luck, right? And so taking advantage of opportunity, and whatever that may be. I mean, it's for everyone. It could be, whatever your desire, whatever your passions are.
Yes.
Whatever your passion is, we want to move your passion to purpose, to product, to profit, and all those things. So that's what we're after. And so it's so important that we do that. And it's just wonderful to and listen, I just got a text message. We got to put this one up. I'm gonna do this. All right. Let me see if I can make this happen. And let's see. This is what was said. Booyah! Right? I can do more with money
than without it.
Without.
There you go.
Amen.
Amen,
somebody. Yeah. Right? How you like that? So I think it was an awesome show. I love Dr. Roberts being on. And listen, we're going to show a quick 60-minute. This is a video footage that was taken by Chris. It was edited by my godson, which is Michelle's son. And so we're going to show this quick video, and that's going to end our show for this week. We'll see you guys Friday at 5 p.m. on iHeartRadio. Next week, we're going to be back. And then the week after that is going to be the book launch. So remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our Facebook group, register. And guess what? You can do all that in one place, right? All I want you to do is go to therealmoneycoach.com and you can register for the free book launch. You can order your book if your heart desire. And hey, we just appreciate you watching tonight. We appreciate you being a part of it. Let's roll the video and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Many of us, we don't have a savings problem. Many of us don't have even a retirement problem. But what we have is a tax problem. And my job is to tell you and to show you how these things can work for you. And so I outline these type of strategies in my new book that will help you increase your financial IQ. iPad your money, increase, protect, and dominate your money. The tagline is this: retire financially free, debt-free, tax-free, stress-free. So I'm encouraging you to go to iPadYourMoney.com. If you go there and you order your book, it's free. There's no cost to you. You just pay shipping and handling. Thank you. I am Tony Jackson. I am your real money coach.
Yeah. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you next week. Thank you for tuning in.